everybody. Pardon my appearance. I'm going casual today. I was not feeling well yesterday. I just had a lot of achiness and just kind of feeling a little run down. I know some folks are going through that too. So as you can imagine, it's not a fun time to go through that. So I had to turn my music off. I was getting a little distracted. So thank you so much for joining. I really do appreciate you taking the time to join me here on this live. Hopefully I won't take too much of your time. The last podcast, the first podcast, kind of was a little, I don't know, it kind of threw me for a loop. My friend Dan had an emergency, so he wasn't able to join. So I just kind of had to wing it. And so now I'm just trying to make it a little bit more, what's the word I'm trying to use? A little bit more structured. I'm all for spontaneity, but I want it to be structured because I want to come from a true intuition or intention, excuse me. Come from a place that is really truly sowing love, and patience, and kindness, and understanding. And I hope that people get some wisdom from what I want to share. So, as I said in the beginning, I have 22 years of clinical research experience in the pharmaceutical industry and then also medical devices. And, I thought that I was helping humanity. I really truly did. That was why, that's why I went into nursing. That's, why I progressed into clinical research. I have an associate's in nursing. I have a bachelor's in neuroscience and then master's education in clinical psychology. And then now I'm working on some transpersonal psychology, which is kind of the mesh of all the mind, body, and the soul together, and looking at you as this amazing light electrical being that you are, and looking at you from that aspect, then to separate, because the system wants you to be separated. That's their main goal. Separate, divide, and conquer. And so once you start to break free from that matrix, you see that doesn't really serve you. And so that's why I'm kind of going in this direction. And as I'm going in this direction, I've personally broken free from big pharma. I'm not taking any more medications. I'm very cognizant about not taking, not even Tylenol, because I just, I don't know. It's just that's my journey. And I'm not saying that everyone has to be like me, but that's just my journey. So, and I'm looking for cutting edge wellness, and technologies that I can share with folks. And I've been researching this and I found something and I'm really excited about it, but I kind of want to try it out and really see what it does, so that I have a true testimony that I can share with everyone. But I'm just kind of planting the seeds so that people know where I'm going, and if they want to, they can go ahead and try it themselves. But I'm not going to promote it per se on the podcast until I've gotten a good week or two out of it. So this first episode, we're going to talk about deprogramming the ego. And you're going to see me look down because I have notes. I can't remember all this. So, obviously the wisdom will come in. I've got my lucky charm with me, so that will pull all of that wisdom out. And so I just want to say, let's just start out with a prayer. So Spirit of God, just bring in the wisdom into this conversation so that we can bring knowledge to our listeners, and that we can really start to move in a forward direction with your guidance. And I'm just gonna use the knowledge that I have and convey whatever messages need to be conveyed in this podcast. And I am grateful for whoever is joining and listening in. So thank you so much. And thank you for your patience, because I'm not 100%. I'm still kind of feeling a little cruddy, but I wanted to get on here because number one, I think it's about discipline. I think life is about discipline, and you should do what you're going to say, right? Or say what you're going to do what you're going to say, and some will be good and some won't be, right? So it is what it is. And that's kind of where it is. And that's kind of a great place to be, but it's also kind of a scary place to be, because people are like, how can she just be what is what? Because at the end of the day, I've transcended that need for external validation, right? I know that I'm human and that I make mistakes, and that I'm not here to know everything about everything. That's why I'm going to have folks on the podcast that know more than me about certain subjects. I'm kind of a jack of all trades. Like, I know a little bit of kind of all of this truth that's out here. But that's why you kind of niche it in, right? You niche whatever it is. So if you're thinking about something that you want to do, like for humanity, narrow it down. Okay, narrow it down to whatever it is that, like, for instance, talking about mindfulness and neuroscience and this whole thing about mindfulness and what mindfulness does on a neuroscience level in waking up your brain. And so that's what I'm focusing on, whereas someone may focus on sound therapy, or maybe somebody knows something about flat earth, that concept. Somebody might know something, they might specialize in what's going on with the children, or I'm going all truths here, so everyone has their own little niche, what they're passionate about, right? And I know that not everybody is awake, but that's why we have to get out here and speak the truth. So we're on this journey, right? And I will tell you this, if you just stop for a second, and look back at the last 5 years, and just consciousness alone, I believe that folks are more conscious than they ever have been about everything that goes on in this system and beyond that, right? Like who we really are. And they're getting the truth out, right? That we've been manipulated and we've been deceived. And, we can look at the Bible, and there's scripture in there that talk about this, that the narrow path is the way to really this concept of salvation, right? Like really taking that narrow path, being brave enough to be by yourself on that journey, to learn that this concept that of the teachings of Jesus Christ, of love, patience, kindness, and understanding, it really starts with us in the mirror, in that metaphoric mirror. If you watch the last podcast, I talked about that, when we're able to really look at ourselves in the mirror and arrive at this place where we ask ourselves, who am I? Like, who am I? What are the gifts that my creator has given me that I can share with humanity, because that's why you're here. You're not here for yourself. So it's all about really kind of going inside and that inner knowing about, well, who am I? Who am I really? So this podcast, we're going to talk about deprogramming that ego. The ego has been infiltrated by the enemy. This system has been overrun, we'll say, by the enemy and those who serve the enemy. So we're going to talk in this podcast about how fear controls you and how you can break free from it. And the enemy uses fear. And we're in this spiritual war. And I know, like, so many people realize this, right? Like, you're feeling that there is a shift going on that's clearly spiritual, and things that we're seeing with our own eyes, you know, these eyes, our earthly eyes, and the knowledge, the inner knowledge that God is activating within you, that you have the eyes to see, right? And it's not necessarily these eyes that are seeing, but this whole concept of the pineal gland, right? So you might hear RFK talking about that. We're gonna activate that. We're gonna decalcify that. And we're spiritual light beings, and the system has purposely dumbed us down by the use of psychological programming through the media. I mean, all the way back to, probably the inception of the CIA, and really manipulating what we see and programming us, right? And what God is calling us to do right now is to, I just realized I had music playing in the background. Sorry about that. I like a little bit to kind of just, soften it, but okay, so where was I? Yes. So with the whole CIA coming on board with the psychological operations, MK Ultra, and this is another topic that I want to have guests on. So I'm probably going to do that earlier rather than later. So if anybody follows anyone that is like brilliant when it comes to like the psychological operations, MK Ultra, all of these different operations, Operation Mockingbird, things like that, send me a DM and let me know who that is, so that I could see if maybe we could get them on the podcast to talk about, their knowledge. And that's really what it's all about. I don't know everything, and I want to provide a platform that people can come on and they can talk about what it is that they know about, right? I think number one, it builds confidence, and it's also giving that like grace and cultivating this this love and compassion and understanding for each other, that this programming that we've gone under has been about, well, I'm in competition with you, or I have to be better than you. That is furthest from the truth. It really truly is. And all of us have special gifts that we can share with the rest of humanity. So feel free to reach out to me, and I know there's 4 of you on Facebook. Oh, we got 2. Oh, so if you guys want to, not right now, but like I'm gonna have a little bit of live chat. So if anybody wants to ask questions or give some commentary or whatever you want to do, go ahead and feel free to do that. And I'll tell you, we're wrapping it up. We can do that. So, but yeah, so it's it's about really cultivating this conversation, right? And building a community. Number one, building a community where we can unite. I posted something on Facebook about that I'm looking for people to come on that I can interview and let them have the floor, and let's chat and let's talk and open it up for live conversation. And a guy from the UK, it's like, okay, well, why can't we use technology to unite, right? Like, this is all about, it's not just about America, folks, it's about the entire world. Like, we've all been going through it. These challenging folks, we'll say, have been putting us through it, and we're not victims. The more that we can wake up, the better off we're going to be. And so, yeah, so team humanity. And I think we're kicking ass. What do you guys think? I think we are. I tell you, I sat at a table with women and I had a phenomenal conversation, and that wouldn't have happened 5 years ago. Wouldn't have happened. So I know that we're moving in a positive direction. I think a lot of us we're maybe dealing with a little bit of the ego of anger, and rightfully so. That's part of the grieving process, where we're really just pissed off. I understand, because I went through it. I went through it years ago, where I was just pissed off just at all this craziness going on in the world. And I checked out for a little while, and then I came back, and it was just, I went on that journey where it was like, okay, I'm blocking everything out, and it's going to be about me healing myself and surrendering to the Spirit of God. And it's been a journey, and I get it. Like, not everybody wants to do it, but I suggest you get busy, because you're going to have to do it either way. So face it head on and kick ass. And some days you're going to get knocked down, and you just have to get back up. And let me tell you, if I can do it, you can do it. And I'm here for you, and I'm rooting for you. So I digress. So here's an introduction. Welcome to the disruption. Welcome to the disruption, right? Like, something's come in like a wrecking ball and literally this illusion, like, just wrecked the illusion that we were under. But hey, thank God, because people are stepping into I would have never thought that I would be doing a podcast or even thinking about public speaking or all of this. Like, I would have never thought about it. Never. Like, I was always like the shy person, I would never, but whatever the Spirit calls you to do, the Spirit will give you that confidence, and you just do it. And so we're talking about this fear and how fear controls you. Fear can limit you from being who you truly are supposed to be. Like, truly supposed to be. It can limit you. And this fear is an illusion. And I see a lot of that. I see a lot of fear, and I get it. I was there too. Like, oh my God. What the heck is going on? All of this nonsense, but the disruption it's divinely ordained, because God is calling you to ask, who are you really? You strip away your name, you strip away the job, You strip away the beliefs. Who are you really? Who are you? And you know what? That's a conversation that, let me tell you, when you sit back and you have that conversation with yourself and you ask yourself, who am I? Right? Everything is stripped away, and what is left? And I would say probably about 4 years ago is when I really realized who I am. And I've been on that journey, right? I stepped into the journey long ago, but to really like do this work, because it doesn't happen overnight. And we always want things in this instant gratification. We want things to happen overnight because we've been programmed. And so when you surrender to God and God teaches you patience and to love yourself and to be kind to yourself and understand that time is such an illusion, that so much can happen if you move away from that mindset of time and being time bound, right? And just really just be on the journey, right? And not look to anyone to like validate what you're going through or anything like this, but really allowing the spirit to guide you, right? Now, sure, I had people that I reached out to, not many, handful of people that were really going through what I was going through during this entire time. And I look at like their growth and I'm like, it just gives me chills, because it's truly like, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for the journey. I'm so grateful to see like their transformation. It's amazing. So I know when you have someone that you can kind of check in with, that you know, it's a good thing, because you know you're not going crazy. I mean, there were times that I'm like, oh my God, I'm losing my mind. And yeah, you're losing your mind to find your soul, because there has to be this kind of disconnect, the rewiring, because you're breaking through these programs, right? The programming of religion, the programming of politics, everything that's meant to divide us, everything that they do to hijack our mind and twist things and sow these seeds of doubt or whatever. Like, yeah. So it's about asking yourself, stripping it down. Who am I? And what when you strip that down, you take everything away, like you to the core, and what is left. And then you realize that, you know, you are here. This is not your home. And that you're here for a specific purpose that is divine. And that you have a specific goal, a specific mission to do. And that's really what it is. It's the fact that with this deprogramming, right? Some people are comfortable in the illusion rather than confronting the illusion. They don't want to face that question because the answer forces them to confront the illusion that they've been living in. So right now I want to give a shout out to all the truthers, man. You guys have really kicked ass. You have no idea the effect that you've had sharing the truth and helping people wake up. So if you're out here sharing the truth from which you've discerned from, meaning that you've taken it back to the spirit and you're like, is this true? Or you can look at something and you're like, yeah, this is true. And you're sharing this, and it leads people to go and jump down their little rabbit holes. Because look, that process of researching, it's easy for somebody to give it to you. Here's the information, rather than I'm going to give you a crumb of information, and you shall seek and find it yourself, right? Which is, that's in the scripture. So today on this podcast, I'm going to expose that. So what we're covering is ego is a construct, and how it's programmed and why it keeps you trapped is part of this whole construct. And we're going to talk about governments and institutions and how they hijack your ego. And then we're going to talk about breaking the illusion. I'm going to break this up into 2 different podcasts because I'm already seeing that it's a lot of information. So I don't want to like overwhelm people. So we're just going to go through those 3 topics. The ego is a construct, how governments and institutions hijack your ego, and breaking the illusion. Okay. So ego is a construct. So what is the ego? The ego really isn't who you are. It's not. I mean, we need an ego for survival, and that's the problem. We've been in survival mode because we've been in this fear. I gotta go do this because if I don't have this, then, the fear, the mindset of lack, they've put us in a situation where it's like, I don't have enough money to do X, Y, Z. So this podcast about harnessing the shift, and let me tell you, I want to just give a little plug to my friend Moni, because she reminded me of this week. And when we come from a place of lack, it's not a good mindset to be in, because then we close ourselves off, right? So I was doing this earlier this week, and I was reminded. And so it just goes to show you, you do this work, right? You do this soul work, this really focusing, bring it up. I'm in my ego. Up, bring it back to center. Bring it back to God. Okay, where am I? Right? Always checking that ego. Always thinking before we speak, right? Where am I coming from? Am I coming from a place of love, or am I coming from a place of I have to be right, or I have to know, or I have to you get to a point where it's like you don't have to comment on everything. You just if something moves you, that okay, then I need to comment, or not. And most of the time we should be in observation. We should be observing what's going on instead of reacting, because if we're reacting, then that's cultivating this fear, right? And it's this cyclical fear. So the ego is not you. It's a psychological filter that distorts reality. So think of it like this. You have an operating system, and you can look at your brain as kind of like your hard drive. And instead of running it on logic, it runs on identity labels. I am this, I am that, fear-based narratives. If I let go, I lose control, which is so not true. There's so much power in letting go. It's unbelievable. The separation programming is the one that really pisses me off to like the nth degree, because we're not meant to be separated. We're meant to be united, because when we're firing on all cylinders and we truly are in our true authenticity, when we come together, that's when amazing things happen. And they know this. So this is why they do this separation programming, me versus them. And we're seeing that now, right? And this is what the propaganda does. This is what this, fear-based programming, this psychological programming, we're better than them, let's talk about politics. The left think we're nuts, the right think they're nuts, that kind of thing. So it's like this, them, me versus them. And we're not going to unite with that kind of mindset. So stand by, I gotta wrap. Sorry about that. So the separation programming. And so what the problem is that the ego isn't built on truth. It's built on external programming. And so how do we begin that process of deprogramming? What is the key to that process is mindfulness. We have to get to a point where we can observe the ego in action. So how do we do that? We pay attention to the moments when we're triggered, okay? When you feel triggered, and like when I feel triggered, I get like, my face starts to like get these tingles, right? And then that's when I know, like, pay attention to like the physical manifestations of the ego and also your thoughts. So it's your thoughts, it's your feelings and your emotions as a result of that, right? So pay attention to the moments that you're triggered. The ego is reacting, it's reacting to a perceived threat. So if someone knows something that you may not know, that can trigger you, that you feel like you might be inferior, or oh, I don't know this, I should know this, so shame. And so let that all go, because it's all ego, and it's not the truth, and it's not you. So you ask yourself, okay, who is upset right now? You are. If you're being triggered, you're the one that's upset. So that's bringing you out of your peace because you're upset. And then you dig deeper and you ask yourself, well, why am I upset? And really, I would say, some people out here say, oh, 100% of the time you get triggered, it's about you. I don't believe that. I do believe that there are some people out here that are just really miserable and in their suffering and they're nasty. And although it is a manifestation of what is going on with them internally, and it doesn't have anything to do with us, sometimes it just really pisses you off, because it pisses me off, because I'm like, look, you're better than that. Like, really? You're going to call me a dumbass? Like, what? Okay. It's just unnecessary. And I think that we really have to step back and take inventory of that. Like, how am I treating people? Right? Is that really who you are? Like, is that really who you are? Are you a miserable, nasty person, or are you just kind of in this circling the drain of anger and whatever it may be, anger, jealousy, all of these lower vibrational emotions, anger, jealousy, lust, envy, all of that, shame, all of that is keeping you from who you truly are. And so this journey, jaywalking to remember, well, it's evolved to that, right? Because I started off as Jay the Patriot, and it just kind of morphed into this, like, I'm remembering who I am, right? And I went down some rabbit holes that led me to, meditation, prayer, and mindfulness, and this process of wakening up the brain and creating new neural pathways. And so it can help us slow down, right? We bring everything kind of to a simmer, right? And so when you bring it to a simmer, you can actually observe instead of react. And not everything has to have a reaction. Can you imagine that if you're on this path, right? And you're just constantly reacting, like you're in the loop, right? You're in this loop, you're watching the mainstream media, everything that's coming out every day is, you're reacting to it every day. You're pissed off, you're reacting to things. There's a difference between sharing something versus being fear and pissed off about whatever it may be and reacting to it. So, now, I do see some creators out there, and I'm not picking on anybody in particular, but I do see some creators that like gets really emotional about things, and it's like, I'm pissed off. You should be pissed off too. And a lot of things that are happening are just, it's a reveal. It's a revelation. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. And I truly believe the things that are being revealed are what they had planned, not what they're going to do. It's not going to happen. And it's taken me a minute to get here, to have that, and that be my truth. And here's the thing about truth. Truth can change. It can change from, yesterday to today, and from today to tomorrow, and a year from now, or 5 years from now, or 10 years from now. Truth can change because you're evolving, and you're learning as you're evolving. And so bringing it back to center and being able to really observe and really being in control of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions, you're able to do this shadow work. You're able to be like, okay, why am I getting upset about this? Oh, and dig deeper. Oh, and then you may get to, I remember this time when I needed my father and he wasn't there for me. That little trigger could lead to that. And so what that is shadow work, and really pulling that those repressed things, like when Jamie was a kid, and bringing that to the forefront and really healing that part that was kind of suppressed for a long time, and doing the shadow work to expose the hidden programming, right? So deprogramming, we have to bring it to light, what we have been programmed to believe, like, oh, I'm not good enough. Well, yeah, you are. And really coaching yourself, being the whole thing about life coaching isn't somebody telling you what to do. The whole thing about life coaching is someone saying, you check in with them. I've had coaches these last 6 years, and man, that's why I want to do this work where I can help people kind of transition along in that process of this awakening, because it's a doozy, and it's not it's not easy at times, and you kind of have to have people to check in with, like, am I going crazy? Because that ego, man, that ego hides, and it hides the parts of yourself that you don't want to face. Your insecurities, your fears, your suppressed emotions, all of it lives in its shadow self, right? And so the shadow work, which is journaling and meditating and questioning your thoughts that run in the background. And the whole thing about meditation, like I hear people say, there's no way I can't sit back and I can't meditate. I can't quiet my mind. Yeah, you can. If I can do it, you can. It's a discipline, right? It's just like getting on here and talking to you guys. It's a discipline. It is every day. I'm going to integrate this in what I do in my daily practices. And let me tell you, if I wasn't doing it, I would, look, I'm German. I was a firecracker before I really got on this path. And I've always been a truth teller. I've always told it like it is. I think I just tell it like it is in a little bit more compassionate and understanding way now, and not so kind of cutthroat. And so I've always been that person. That's always been my true authentic nature, was just to tell the truth no matter what. I just think that this life made me kind of harden me a little bit, and then now I'm kind of softening in this in my presentation. I'm still that warrior. I'm still that spiritual warrior, and I'm a very kind person, but like I will not tolerate outright disrespect. I just won't. You disrespect somebody that I love or I care about, or you disrespect somebody in my presence, like I'm not going to have it. And I don't have any problem saying it. I don't have any problem going there. So definitely not a pushover. But I have a love for humanity, and so sometimes that comes across that I get a little fired up, like, because we have so much potential. It's so amazing. We have so much potential, and it's like, if everyone could do this work, and you can do this work, it's about, will you? So your insecurities, your fears, your suppressed emotions, it's all of that lives in your shadow self. And so when you do this meditation, journaling, questioning your thoughts, and look, meditation isn't like I'm sitting here, whatever. Meditation could be, I'm gonna wake up, and I'm just gonna, before I wake up, I'm gonna recall what I've dreamt about, because I truly believe, I know that God plants little seeds, right, when we're in our REM sleep. So getting up and journaling right after we wake up, because we do forget if we don't write it down, or if you want to record it, whatever works for you, because a lot of things can happen in that time where we can use that information in order to kind of, okay, where do I need work from, or maybe there's guidance, direction on what your path is, whatever it may be. So the act of writing things down on paper is when we journal, because we can always go back, we can see how far we've come, we can measure our growth. It's a good thing. So writing down what triggers you, and you asking yourself, what does this reveal about my ego? And observe instead of judging. Observe it. You don't have to make any decisions, just observe it. Observe it from a place of where Christ would, or Christ or God would observe it. So there's that. So the government's role in the ego programming. Why would governments use fear to control the people? Because a fearful mind is it's a programmable mind. So let me say that again. A fearful mind is a programmable mind. So if you're fearful and you're in that lower vibration, keeping in mind we're light beings, we're energetic beings. If you think about it, when you say fear, where does that resonate in your body? It resonates below your heart. When you say love, so neurolinguistics. Hate, love. See, so when you're fearful, you're in your gut. So no wonder there's so many people that have digestive issues. And really, it's all this programming affects us physically. Like it's a physical manifestation. Not only is it psychological, it becomes physical, where it's creating disease in the body. So, so fear hijacks the nervous system. And this whole process of really slowing it down and being mindful and journaling and stepping away and taking breaks from social media and really learning how to observe instead of react slows the nervous system down, right? If the nervous system is always revved up, then other systems are going to overcompensate, or other systems in the body are going to be affected by that constant revving of the nervous system. And your brain is part of the nervous system. And when you're constantly on and fear, you're not sleeping well, you need sleep. It's just a vicious cycle. And so making people more reactive and compliant is their goal. And governments, religions, media use fear to override critical thinking. They don't want us critically thinking. If you're a critical thinker, you're dangerous. Because you are a threat to the system. So every mass event that they have, every war, pandemic, the fear of economic collapse is strategically designed to keep people in reaction instead of thinking. Right? At the end of the day, we can only control what we can control. So how do we break free from this? And look, like I said, this is not an overnight process, okay? It takes time. Anybody that comes on this podcast, that will probably be one of my questions. Like, was this an overnight thing? And all of them are going to say no. Guarantee 100% will say no. This is a journey that you have to be committed. And sometimes you'll fall off that journey. But that journey could take a long time, right? I think that I've been on my journey my entire life. And I've fallen to the wayside and come back to center. And in this process, you know, it can be very exhausting. But that we're here to remember who we are, and that takes time. So just know that going into this. So this concept of mindfulness being the key to deprogramming the ego, it interrupts the pattern. It interrupts this fear-based programming that keeps you in reaction mode. and bringing it to center and being mindfulness. And like meditation could be just as simple as like going outside and just focusing on nature, focusing on the chirping of the birds, focusing on the wind blowing through the trees, like just focusing and just checking out. And then you get to this alpha phase where it's just complete and utter bliss. And your brain waves are slow and they're shifting you out of survival mode. And the more that you can do this, the more you get to a point where you recognize when something is trying to trigger you out of your peace, and you make a conscious decision, I'm not letting that steal my peace. And we all have the ability to do this. I don't care who you are. You have the ability to do it. And you're the only one that's standing in your way. You. So, just thought I'd let you know that. So, the more that you can observe fear without attaching yourself emotionally to it, the less control it has over you. So, journaling is much like a mental detox where the mind holds on to these fear-based stories until they're confronted. And when you can stand up against it and you say, okay, no, I'm not that. Like, look, we all have this where I'm not good enough. Yes, I am. Break through that. And so you dig deeper. Okay, why do I have these feelings on why I feel like I'm not good enough? So journaling reveals the subconscious programming that's running the show. Okay? And so what fears have been implanted in me by the system is what we should be asking ourselves. What fears have been implanted in my brain, my thoughts that are running the show? Shadow work is facing this internalized authority, right? And many people have internalized the government's voice as their own. And the fear of like, well, what if I don't comply? What if I don't comply with what they're saying? Is embedded in this mechanism of control, right? And so shadow work helps us identify and purge those subconscious fears. I know it might not seem like it, but we all have free will. Nobody is going to make you do anything that you don't want to do. And we saw this, a couple years back when they threw in, we were talking about an event where the government uses to control us and override our critical thinking was the pandemic. And we saw the things that happened with that. So if you were one of those jerks out there saying, you know what, screw you and your mask, and no, I will not comply, hats off to you. Take that energy, share your truth with people, and also at the same time have compassion for those who didn't have the strength to do that right now, because those folks are a little bit more programmed than you. You're just a little bit further down the path of this whole awakening, right? So you're not better than anyone else for doing that. You're just a little further ahead. And so we have to be compassionate to these folks because our government has done this to us and we're not victims. The scripture, and look, I'm a spiritual person, but I know that I have friends that are in the religious programming. And so I believe that the Bible has been infiltrated. Religion has been infiltrated. We must question any and all things, including the scripture. And so when you take it back, seek and you shall find. Hello. Like, people that are seeking the truth are finding the truth. So we know that we know that is something that's true. I talked about fear, and that, Jesus wasn't about fear. The teachings of Jesus Christ when he was here on earth, and I believe that there's a little bit of, I'm not going to get into that, but I don't think that we know everything there was about his journey. I think we've been manipulated in that sense too. So deconstructing this false self, right? That's been created by, the programming. So how to know when you're operating from the ego? You take things personally, you react with defensiveness. You're such a dumbass, like someone said to me today. And I was just like, I spoke the truth, and I said, okay, so I'm giving you the facts. I'm giving you the website where you can go and look for yourself. I'm far from a dumbass. You react with defensiveness instead of awareness. You feel the need to prove your point. That was a big thing for me. I felt like, I got to prove my point. Sometimes you're going to hit somebody's cognitive dissonance, which is a belief. And when they're not able to integrate any information that goes against that belief. So not one person is responsible for waking people up. Like the whole thing of, I got to wake people up. No, you don't. You drop the seed, and then somebody else is going to come along, who knows when, and they're going to drop another seed, and they're going to drop another seed, and another, and another, and another. This is how it happens, right? The more seeds that are dropped, and let God plant or water the seed. Like, you're responsible for planting the seed. So you don't need to prove your point, because once you hit that cognitive dissonance, and when you hit it, like, people get defensive and they start to melt down, right? You see it all the time. Like, that's when okay, I'm done. Because then you're going into if you keep going, then you're operating in the ego. So back to, you feel the need to prove your point. You're attached to how others see you. Like, I know a lot of us have gone through this in this journey where, people think I'm crazy. I've had people that have called me crazy to my face. And I'm just like, because think about it. It's too much. It's too much to think that. For some people, it's too much for them to believe that they've been manipulated, right? It's this concept of deception, betrayal. And some folks are very fragile. So once you hit that cognitive dissonance, it's like disengage. Just disengage and walk away, because it's not helping anybody. So just plant the seed, and once you hit it, boom, retreat. So mindfulness is the real-time ego disruptor. Mindfulness is a practice of watching your mind instead of being confronted by it. When you're triggered, you take a breath. You take some breaths, and then you ask yourself, is this reaction coming from my true self, or is it coming from my ego? Is this reaction coming from my true self or my ego? And then if it is coming from your true self, then cool. If it's coming from your ego, then it's time to chill out. Again, back off. Just because the mind will trick you every time. Every time. So when, back to this guy who called me a dumbass today, and I'm just using it as an example. I'm not bothered by it at all because I'm far from a dumbass. So I know, and my inner self and my authentic self knows that I'm not a dumbass. I am not those things. And he's calling me a dumbass because he is defensive. And he's taking the information that I'm giving him, is perceiving it as a threat that I might know more than him. I don't know. I'm not in his brain, but I mean, let me just, guess that he has the need to feel right or whatever it may be. And I'm coming up against it. So I'm hitting the cognitive dissonance when I just said, hey, here's the website. Go look it up for yourself. I guarantee you won't find it. But this is where you start, because you're talking about the media, you're talking about social media, you're talking about the newspaper, you're talking about all of these things that are just filled with propaganda. And I'm giving you a website that will show you in black and white, if it's there. So I could choose to be offended by him calling me a dumbass, but I know I'm not. So speak my truth and keep it moving. And that's what it's all about, right? That's what this journey has been all about, is going to war with that ego, and you just beat it into submission. I mean, and this whole concept about ego death, I want to put this out here. Like, the ego is not going to die. The ego is always going to be there because the ego is there to help you survive. But the ego has been in survival mode because of the programming. The majority of our lives, we've been in the survival mode. And so it doesn't die. You just know how to wrangle it, right? And so you wrangle it. And so harness the shift that's what it is how do I harness this ego and make it work for me? Basically making your ego your bitch. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so that's what it's all about, folks. And so I think I'm going to stop here, and we'll come back. The next podcast we'll talk about on spiritual suppression and fear of true power. So talking about, why do they demonize spiritual work? Oh my God, spiritual, that's witchcraft. Why would they do that? Now, this is where we need to critically think. Why would they demonize spiritual work? Why would they demonize meditation, where you slow down your nervous system and your brain, and you can be in bliss and have a direct path to your creator? Why would they demonize this? Because they want to control. The system, Earth, wants you to control. We should be questioning any and all things. That includes religion. Religion has been infiltrated. Religion is a source of control. Bottom line. We're looking for somebody that's external to tell us what the deal is. When we have a direct connection to our creator and we just got to check in. And that's what this is all about. Harnessing the shift is about checking in with your creator. So there you have it. So thank you so much for joining me today. Those of you on the live chat, or those of you on the live, thank you so much for joining. I really do appreciate it. This is going to be recorded. It'll be posted. So if you didn't have an opportunity to dial in, I understand. But I think what I'm going to do is, I think that I'm going to start doing podcasts on Sunday afternoons. Sunday afternoons, probably 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I think. That way it's not too late for the folks on the East Coast, as I'm out here in the Pacific Northwest. Hence my flannel. It's been a beautiful day, but I have this flannel on because I'm kind of, I'm going through it. So, I'm a little not feeling well. But if you're on this journey and you're starting to really like wake up to this illusion, stick with it, stick with it. And, I hope you watch this podcast. I hope you watch other podcasts, because there's other podcasts out there that can really help you in your journey. This is just kind of like how I started, where I was, 5 years ago in my journey, right? And the wisdom that I've learned thus far with regard to the whole mindfulness. And I truly believe, from my perspective, that it is the key to turning everything off as far as the whole fear programming. It is the key to just shutting that all down, literally, and waking the mind up to really be able to discern. Spiritual discernment is not given to everyone. It is something that must be cultivated, and it's cultivated with the direct connection to the Spirit of God. And sitting with God and learning, what the truth is and what's an illusion and what's real and what's not real. And it really truly is a direct path to personal sovereignty. You just free yourself. You free yourself from this illusion, this matrix that we live in, this fear. I'm in a constant state of lack. You're able to have these self-inquiries where you're, okay, where am I coming from? Because look, people are going to trigger you every day. We're mirrors. Metaphorically, we're mirrors. That's how God designed us to be, because it's all about getting on that narrow path, right? And the narrow path is centered with God. And another thing I want to throw out here, nature. Get into nature. And don't spend all of your time on social media. Like, give yourself time to check in and to check out. Like, give yourself, okay, I'm going to give myself an hour a day, because if you're constantly on there and you're scrolling, and I'm guilty of it too. But if you're scrolling and scrolling, you're going to get sucked in. And so, yeah, dial it back a little bit, get into nature, start journaling, especially when you wake up. Another thing, sound. So I've been listening to healing frequencies for 5 years now, and I'm not on any medications at all. and I was on some medications before. So there's sound. So that right there proves that if sound can heal and light can heal, you know, it's the system. The system wants us to be in fear so that we are in this state of our nervous system being activation all the time and never has a chance to chill. And this is where we're getting disease and all of that in our bodies. So, yeah. So thank you so much for listening, and keep going. Keep doing the work. And let me hear your stories. And if you're interested in coming on and sharing your story on remembering who you are, I would love to have you on. If you have a special topic that you like to research, you want to say hi to everybody? This is Lou. This is my bestie. What you doing? He is my bestie, the best baby ever. He's my best friend. And get yourself a dog. Get yourself a dog. Yeah. Right? Because they're the best. You know, G-O-D, dog, backwards. Just saying. They truly are angels. They're like earthly angels. So, thank you so much for joining me. And if there's anybody on, if you guys want to ask any questions, I can take some questions in the chat if you want. I'll give you guys a few minutes. Trying to figure out how I can do this. What the heck? So I'm going to try to figure this out. I'm looking at this so that next time I can have comments from Facebook. But right now I can't. It's not, I don't think it's letting me because I don't see anything. Well, maybe nobody's commenting, but I'm going to work on that. What is oh, Cholula, my bestie. What did it think is that? Oh, actually stand by. I think, you know what? Actually, I can take comments on Facebook now. I turned it on. So, yeah. Take comments on Facebook now. I turned it on. So, okay. Yeah. Oh, hi, Joe. Joe commented ours probably still not on. Yeah, he jumped off. Okay, I'm so glad I got this now. Hi, Kelly. I don't know if you're still on. William, Michael. Joe commented ours probably still not on. Yeah, he jumped off. Okay, sorry guys, I didn't see these until now. I didn't know that I had to do that, so I figured it. William, Michael. Okay, so I had to do that, so I figured. Okay, so. And there's a little bit of a delay. It's kind of weird. So, okay. Jeez. I look a wreck. Sorry. But I didn't want to let you guys down today, because I said that I was going to do it yesterday, and so I thought, yeah, I better jump on. And so it's been a good time. I'm going to shut this down. So next time I know how to get the Facebook chat going. So next time I'll make sure that I have that. All right. Let me check and see if we've got. Check and see if we've got. Okay. All right, folks. So it is time to wrap this up. Thank you so much for jumping on. Pardon my discombobulation. And until next time, when we talk about spiritual suppression and the fear of true power. Until then, if you're not already doing it, start journaling. Start being mindful of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Start taking inventory of, are you taking things personal? Are you reacting in defensiveness instead of awareness? Are you feeling the need to prove your point? Are you attached to how others see you? Ask yourself this, and then ask these hard questions. Interrupt the pattern, interrupt the programming, because you're not those things, right? You're not. And keep sharing the truth, but when you hit that cognitive dissonance with folks, just make sure that you pull back, because then we're not operating from a place of love and patience and kindness and grace and understanding, right? And you have nothing to fear, because God is in control. How do I know? Because I have an inner knowing. I have an inner knowing. So, with love and light, thank you so much for listening today. Oh, hey, Cal, how are you? I thought I saw you earlier, but there you are. Okay. So, sorry, got a little distracted. So thank you so much for listening to Harness the Truth, or Harness the Truth, Harness the Shift, where we speak the truth. And look, this is only my second podcast, so we can only go up from here, right? So take care of yourselves. Thank you so much for dialing in. And until next time, next Sunday, 4 p.m., let's do it. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.